Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou. And guess what? Live here on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And two, in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Sometimes they're even watchable. I don't know about this one. You can let me know in the comments down below what you think about this video. And in today's video, I'm going to do a schedule preview, take an early look at the schedule. 2022 Miami Hurricanes. Big shout out to Kelly S. over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page. She suggested that I do this preview. So, Kelly, this one's going to be for you. If you want to get signed up on the Patreon page, there's a link in the description of this video that'll take you over there. That's where I'm getting all the teams that I'm doing for these scheduled previews. I made a post over there a week or so ago. Everybody is commenting the teams that they want to see me do. I'm just going off that list. When I finish up that list, if we have time, I'll come back to these videos and take suggestions from the comment section here on YouTube. But big shout out to everybody over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the support y'all give me over there. Without y'all's support over on that Patreon page, I would not be able to do what I do. So big thank you to all of you. And Kelly S., I hope you enjoy this Miami Hurricanes 2022 schedule preview. And like I said, if you're not on the Uncle Lou Patreon page and you want to check it out, there is a link in this description. All right, let's take a look at the schedule and see what it looks like 2022 for our good buddies, the Miami Hurricanes. 7-5 last year, right? Started off rough, really. I think they started out 2-4, and then they won 5 of their last 6 games after changing quarterbacks and starting Tyler Van Dyke, who returns this year. Their only loss, winning 5 of their last 6, only loss, unfortunately, for Miami fans coming to bitter rival Florida State, finishing up the season for Miami at 7-5. They were unable to compete in a bowl game. I believe it was the other team that had COVID issues, I guess, but, you know, a lot of bowl games ended up not getting played last year, so it's not that Miami didn't earn their way to a bowl game. It just was unable to be played. The big news for Miami, of course, coming into this season is yet another in a long line of head coach changes. This time, Mario Cristobal gets the nod as the head coach down in South Beach. And I like this hire. I've been a fan of Mario Cristobal for a while, and I'm not going to pretend now just because he's going to Miami that somehow now I don't like him or I think he's a bad coach. I think Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter, A++, and a way above average coach when it comes to everything else, player development, things like that. So I think this is a really big hire for Miami. I think you're going to see immediate improvement. I know Miami is not at the level talent-wise that the fans want them to be at. They haven't recruited at the level over the last 4 or 5 years that the fans want them to recruit at. But there is some talent there. And I think Mario Cristobal and he's hired a great staff, too, across the board. I think they're going to be able to get more out of those kids, more out of those players than the previous staff was under Manny Diaz, right? And I just think that talent is going to get better over the next 3 to 4 years. I think I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Miami under this staff headed by Mario Cristobal to be recruiting inside the top 10 every single year and maybe even up in the top 5 a year or two. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. Like I said, I think Miami is heading or trending in the right direction. Mario Cristobal was at Oregon for 4 years prior to taking this job at Miami, and he won the Pac-12 in 2 of those 4 years. He won the Pac-12 in 19 and 20, his second and third year. Came up a little short last year in the Pac-12 title game when Oregon lost their second game of the season to Utah. They lost to Utah in the regular season and then lost to them in the Pac-12 title game. So lots of title game appearances at Oregon for Mario Cristobal, winning 2 Pac-12 titles in his 4 years there. That's pretty good, especially when you consider the fact that Miami has been in the ACC now for 18 years. They've been in the ACC since 2004. And Miami, so far, yet to win an ACC title. So that's a long drought for the Hurricanes. They're hoping they were hoping Manny Diaz could bring that drought to an end. He was unable to do it, so Mario Cristobal takes the reins, and I like this hire. Let's take a look at the schedule, though, and see if that may translate into some additional wins on the field this year. This isn't a prediction video. I do prediction videos later on in the offseason, usually starting around June. This is just looking at the schedule. You know, what does the non-con games look like? Does the schedule seem more difficult than last year's? The conference games, where are the road games? Which ones are at home? Where's the rivalry games? Where's the bye week? Does that come at a good time? Are there any quote-unquote trap games? Is there a difficult stretch where Miami has to play 2 or 3 tough games in a row? Things like that. That's what we look at in these videos here. So Of course, spring game coming up in a couple of weeks, April 16th. Not going to talk much about that in this video. You open things up in the non-con at home, September 3rd, first Saturday, week 1, against Bethune-Cookman. This should be a game in which Miami will be heavy favorites. And look, if my team has a new coach, this is the type of game I want right out of the gate. I know as fans, we like to see these big non-con matchups, and Miami does have a big non-con matchup on this schedule that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But with a brand new head coach, no matter how comfortable or confident you are, you're never 100% certain, until you see him put that team out on the field and see what they look like. So with a first-year head coach, to me, this is a favorable spot to have Bethune-Cookman here. Sort of, not to put Bethune-Cookman down, but you can almost look at this as like a preseason game, sort of gauge where you're at if you're Miami in this game here. Another non-con game, also at home in week 2 against Southern Miss. Now, Southern Miss probably a step up in competition from Bethune-Cookman, but still not a team really that should be competing with Miami. And that brings us to the third non-con game here at Texas A&M. And this is a difficult game. In fact, this is probably Miami's toughest game of the season. They also have to play at Clemson, which we'll talk about a little later on down the schedule. But Texas A&M is in everyone's top 10 heading into next season. Whatever you think about Jimbo Fisher, and I know as a Miami fan, you have no love for Jimbo Fisher, and I don't blame you. You won a national title at Florida State, made the playoffs another time at Florida State. And so I know you don't like anything associated with Florida State. I get that. While he hasn't been able to duplicate that success at Texas A&M, at least not yet, they're a very, very talented team. He's recruited really, really well there. Everyone knows about the recruiting class they signed this year, which, let's be real, that's not going to help them much this season. So you don't have to worry too much about that recruiting class they just signed in terms of playing them this season. But they've got a lot of talent on that team. They got some questions at the quarterback. Their starter last year went down early in the season. They played their backup the rest of the way. Now the backup has transferred out. The guy that got injured is back and healthy. They also brought in a transfer, so they're figuring some things out this spring like a lot of teams are. But this is a very tough place to play against a very talented team with a head coach that has proven he can win big games. This is a tough draw for Miami here. Miami will probably be an underdog in that game. Your last non-conference game after that in week 4, again back at home at Hard Rock Stadium. Middle Tennessee, again, better than Bethune-Cookman, maybe even better than Southern Miss, but not a team that really should be competing with Miami. And then you get your bye week. I don't really like the bye week this early in the season. You want to have your bye week as close to the middle of the season as you can in general, play 5, 6, 7 games, something like that, and then have a bye week to get some of your players rested. I mean, this isn't the worst possible spot to have it. North Carolina, even though they lose Sam Howell, again, a pretty talented team with a pretty good head coach. I don't think North Carolina is just going to fall off the cliff like some people have kind of mentioned this offseason since they lost Sam Howell. I think they'll be okay. So maybe this actually is a pretty good place to have it because I think this is an important game for Miami and one that they really need to win if they want to get where they want to go, which is, initially an ACC title game, maybe even an ACC championship, and, of course, on to the playoffs. I'm not suggesting that will happen this year, but that's, of course, the goal is to get to the playoffs in the conference championship. Beating North Carolina in week 5 or week 6 here after a bye week on October 8th would be the first step towards doing that. It's your first conference game. Then you have your first road conference game the following week at Virginia Tech, a team that Miami should not be struggling with. This is a team that we have to get to the point with Miami where you can look at these kind of games and go, well, that's just a win. You handled them last year 38-26. That was on the road. Or no, that was at home. This year you got to play them on the road. Not an easy environment to play in, but again, Virginia Tech has been a very disappointing team the last 3 or 4 years. It's hard to imagine them being better off right now than Miami is. That's a game, even though it's on the road, I feel like Miami will probably be favored in. Then you come back home and you play Duke. Again, a team that you should not even have to think about. Miami has got to get back to the point where you look at this game and you go, is Miami going to win this by 30 or 40? Instead of wondering, oh my God, could we possibly lose this game? You blew them out last year 47-10. Should be a similar result this year. You get them at home, no excuses. Miami should be able to handle business there. on the road at Virginia. Again, just not a very good team. Now, they did beat you last year. These are the losses that Miami has got to stop getting. And I know it was a close loss. I think you lost by 2. Was it 30-28 or something like that? That's not the point. I mean, same with North Carolina, you lost last year 45-42. Florida State, you lost 31-28, and you say, well, those are all close losses. Well, great. But they were still losses. I mean, you beat Pitt 38-34. That's a close win. Does it mean it's not a win? No. You beat Georgia Tech 33-30. Now, do you understand how hard it is to only beat Georgia Tech by 3 points? You have to really try to play bad to only beat Georgia Tech by 3. This has got to stop happening with Miami if they want people to start looking at them the way they looked at them in the 80s and 90s. You have to start beating the really bad teams. And we'll see if Miami can do that this year at Virginia. Now, then that takes you to the Florida State game. You get them at home this year. I don't think there's any such thing as really a must-win game in a coach's first year, but they did beat you last year. They've got some stability at the head coaching position with Mike Norvell going into his 3rd or 4th year now. This is definitely a game you want to see Mario Cristobal win. Again, not a make-or-break game in year 1. Now, over the long run, yeah, if you're the head coach at Miami, you have to be beating Florida State more than you're losing to them in the long run. No question about it. Not a make-or-break game in year 1, though. One that I think Miami can win. It is there. Hard to say for certain right now who might be favored in that game. It's at Florida State. I think Miami's the better team. I'll tell you that. I think Miami's the better team. They were the better team last year, too, and they lost. These rivalry games are weird. This is a big game, just like it is every single year. Miami gets Florida State at home. No, that was last year you played them on the road. I'm sorry. You get them at home this year. I have both year schedules pulled up, and I got confused there. Apologize for that. So you get Florida State at home. You have to win that one at home. And then at Georgia Tech. You beat Georgia Tech by 50. Please. Georgia Tech is a horrible team. This is Jeff Collins' last year there. I mean, he's not going to survive past this coming season. They really shouldn't have kept him after last year. But, again, a game where Miami's going to be a huge, huge favorite. And then the Clemson game on the road at Clemson. Probably going to be an underdog here, just based on how these two teams have performed and played over the last 4, 5, 6 years. I know Clemson had a quote-unquote down year last year. Yeah, a down year at 10-3. You know, it's not like it's not like Florida State, who 1 minute they were winning national titles, and the next minute they're winning 4 and 5 games a year. They were 10-3. Now, yeah, they got some issues. They need better play from quarterback. They need improved offensive line play, but they're the most talented team in the ACC. It's really not even close. You have to play them there. Doesn't mean you can't win, but in my opinion, you will be an underdog there. And then your last regular season game of the season at home against Pitt. Pitt lost one of the best quarterbacks in the country last year in Kyle Pickett, but they bring in Keaton Slovis, and I'm not trying to convince anybody he's as good as Kyle Pickett or is going to put up those types of numbers, but the idea that Pitt is just like starting over at quarterback with somebody who's never thrown a pass before, no. Keaton Slovis has started for almost 3 full seasons out at Southern Cal. So again, I'm not trying to convince anybody he's elite. He was kind of forced to transfer out when Lincoln Riley got the head coaching job there and brought Caleb Williams with him from Oklahoma. He was kind of a round peg in a square hole or whatever you call it. It wouldn't fit at Southern Cal, so he transfers over to Pitt. So at least you're getting a guy there with a ton of experience. Could be an interesting game. You get him at home. You have to like Miami's chances in that one. Overall, I think this is a pretty favorable schedule for Miami. At Texas A&M, yes, that's tough. And at Clemson, yes, that's tough. Your 2 toughest games of the year, and they're both on the road. Now, I know it's the offseason and everybody's going 12-0, and maybe you win both of those games. I don't know. But if you could fast forward to the middle of December and Uncle Lou told you, guess what? You went 10-2 with losses at Texas A&M and at Clemson, and you won your division, you'd probably take it. You'd probably take that in mid-December if I told you that's what's going to happen, right? So we'll see. I think it's a favorable schedule outside of that. Bye a week before North Carolina. They got to replace Sam Howell. I still think they have a lot of talent, and I think they could be a sneaky good team this year. But you get them at home. That's pretty good. Trap games. Looking for a trap game. I mean, honestly, the trap game is at Georgia Tech, right? Because you play Florida State, and then Clemson, and then but sandwiched in the middle is Georgia Tech. Florida State, of course, your biggest rivalry game of the year. So you get them at home, right? let's say you win, emotional victory over your rival after they beat you last year. Mario Cristobal's first year, he gets a big win over the Noles. Maybe you fall asleep the next week on the road at Georgia Tech where there'll only be 5,000 people in the stadium, knowing you have to go on the road the following week and play Clemson. I don't think that will happen. Trap game, boy. It would have to be the biggest trap history if you lost that game. But if you're looking for a potential trap game on this schedule, that's the one that stands out to me. Tough stretch of games. Well, I guess it would be the 3 out of 4 here: Florida State, at Georgia Tech, at Clemson, and Pitt. Those are your last 4 games of the year. That's probably your toughest 4-game stretch there, too. So we'll see how Miami is looking at the end of the year in terms of injuries. How are they holding up? And sort of, how Mario Cristobal has progressed that team as the season has gone along. But in general, a pretty manageable schedule, I think, for Miami. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of 8, 9, and probably even some 10-win predictions for Miami this year. The only 2 games I can tell right now where they definitely won't be favored is at Texas A&M and at Clemson. Right now, if I was handicapping these games, I would have Miami as a favorite in every other one of these games. Again, that doesn't mean they will win all those games, and that doesn't mean they will lose to Texas A&M and Clemson. But when you're trying to judge, how difficult a schedule might be, that's one way to do it. I think this is a manageable schedule for the Miami Hurricanes, year 1, Mario Cristobal. All right, Miami fans and everybody else, let me know down below, what do you think about this schedule? What do you think Miami's record will be in 2022? And is there any way Miami wins the ACC for the first time this season in Mario's first year? Appreciate you watching, and have a good morning.